All right, we're ready to begin.
The Civil Service Commission meeting for 1 August is hereby called to order. There are 2 commissioners present, myself, Jerry Wilkins, and Amanda Bay. I'll entertain a motion to approve the agenda as published.
I move to approve the agenda as published.
Second, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed say nay. Approval of the meeting minutes for the May 2nd, 2022 Civil Service Commission meeting has been provided for your review. I'll entertain a motion to approve those as published.
I move to approve the meeting minutes from May 22, 2022 as published.
I second it. Is there any discussion? Hearing no discussion, call for the question. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say nay. Motion carries. So let's go into new business. And Chief, I think this is your time.
Well, thank you very much. Good morning to the members of the commission. Thank you for having me this morning. I have a PowerPoint I'm going to do my best to share with you. Let's see here. Let's go to play first. Now I'm going to try to share my screen, which should be really exciting. Go share screen, and I'm going to go to hoping that one. That's right. Okay, here we go. You should be able to see a title page of the command staff quarterly reports for August 1st. Is that correct?
That is correct. What you said.
Okay, awesome. Okay, well, good morning, and this will be a 8-slide, only 8, less than 10, slide presentation. So I promise not to kill you the PowerPoint, but it'll be mostly based on discussion, but we'll use the PowerPoint as a discussion aid. Okay. Yes. There we go. Okay, so first of all, we're going to talk about the hiring that we've done since our last meeting and recruitments and resignations and things of that matter that we had in the last quarter, Q2 of 2022. We hired 1 DA3, which is a Department Assistant 3, a civilian position, Ms. Miller, and we also hired an entry-level police officer and we hired 2 lateral police officers. For this quarter, we looked at 25 applicants for police officer. We had 10 oral interviews advanced to that stage. Of that 10, we moved 2 into backgrounds. Of those already in backgrounds, we removed 2 from backgrounds for various reasons. We extended 1 conditional offer to 1 of the people in the background process. And of that, during this time period, we hired 3 applicants, as I previously discussed, the 2 laterals and 1 entry level. Currently in our training program, which is the Field Training Officer Program or FTO program, we had 1 person completed during this quarter, Officer Favela. We have 2 lateral officers candidates that are currently in the training program. They both came from Thurston County Sheriff. And then we have 3 graduates from the academy who are currently also in the field training program. During this time period, we also promoted 1 sergeant, John Mason. We promoted 2 corporals, Jimmy Williams and Aaron Herneda. And we had one retirement due to medical reasons, Officer Johansson. Are there any questions?
The academy, do we have anybody in the academy right now?
Yes, we have 2 recruits in the academy now that will graduate at the end of this month of August. And then we have 1 in the academy who's due to graduate in October.
And the initiative that I've heard, I think the governor talked about of having additional academies throughout the state. Is that something that has any impact on us?
The more availability of academy spaces is always a good thing for the police department. Other police departments are having to wait up to 8 to 9 months to get an academy space. Fortunately, we have a TAC officer at the academy now, Officer Westfall, that offers us a fast track into the academy, as well as it just so happens the current commander of the academy is a former Lacey sergeant who's retired, and the assistant commander of the academy just so happens to be a retired police officer from the city of Lacey. And also a couple of the TAC officers are also Lacey officers. There's a heavy Lacey presence at the academy, and that offers us a certain inroads into the academy where we really haven't had any significant delays in getting academy space. We've been very fortunate for that.
Okay.
But also we've been able to, frankly, have people poised and ready to go into the academy where others really have had an issue with having their people ready to go into the academy. So it's been very advantageous. But that being said, more academies is better, more space is better. So things are subject to change. So obviously regional academies that also offer the availability so folks wouldn't have to go so far from home to attend the academy, which would provide a better work-life balance. So we look forward to that.
All right. Well, thank you. Go ahead.
Okay, moving along. Hiring data for the last 3 years, 2020 through 2022 to date. I want to provide the commission with a profile, kind of a thumbnail sketch of what we've been able to accomplish during these last 3 years. Even with COVID, even with new policing reforms, we've really placed a heavy emphasis on staffing and making sure that we have the best and the brightest here at the Lacey Police Department. In a time when other police departments are suffering 15, 20% vacancy rates and plan to have those vacancy rates for up to 2 to 3 years at a minimum, we've been very fortunate because of the focus we have put on the hiring process between the police department and human resources. So in 2020, 2021, and 2022, we hired a total of 21 commissioned officers and 7 civilians, which is quite a heavy number when you realize that our total staffing is approximately 63 police officers and approximately 15 and a half civilian full-time positions. So about a third of our commissioned officers are new in the last 3 years, and almost half of our civilian staff are new within the last couple of years. So we've been very successful in hiring and attracting good candidates. On the commission side, it's really good to have a balance between entry-level recruits and lateral officers. And as you can see from the graph, we've got about a third of our officers are laterals to the department, and 2/3 are new entry-level candidates. And looking for the last 3 years on demographics, really put obviously a focus on making sure that we address gender equity issues and make sure that we are an inclusive and welcoming department for all types of folks. And people need to know they can be successful here, no matter what their background, no matter what their ethnicity or their race or gender. Really, it's about having equal of opportunity and then being able to be set up for success once you arrive here. And it's not just going to be inclusive, but really to be welcoming. So just from a gender standpoint, looking at male-female ratios of officers hired, of the officers we've hired, a full 1/3 have been female and 2/3 have been male. On the civilian side, they all happen to be female, just kind of worked out that way. And so if you look at both civilian and commissioned officer combined, truly half have been male and half have been female. One of the things I noticed when I arrived here in October 2019 was we were a little unrepresented or underrepresented among the females, the female officers in particular. So it's really been my goal to be more inclusive and make sure that we're really recruiting and looking for good female officers, make sure they know they can be successful here. We're part of the 30 by 30 initiative, which our goal is to have 30% of our officers at all levels of the organization be female. It's a nationwide program, and we're part of that. We're working towards that initiative. And as you can see, we've been pretty successful thus far in our hiring practices. Moving on to on issues of race and ethnicity. General categories are white, Hispanic, so it's Hispanic is technically an ethnicity, not a race, and then Asian and Black. And you'll notice among our hiring in the last 3 years, we've really put an emphasis on our diversity, looking at all not just on appearance, but also on background. Not everybody comes to become a police officer on the same path, and that's really adds to our diversity as well. So we're looking towards that as well. So as you can notice, we are more diverse in our hiring practices than actually in the general population. The population of Lacey and Thurston County runs more 80% white and then 20% various races and ethnicities. We're actually a little more diverse than the community that we patrol and police, which is really the goal, right? To make sure that we have diversity of opinion and output and perspective. Looking at our civilian hires, again, we have good, even though only 7 were hired, we have good diversity there. And then when you look at all race and ethnicities of all hires, again, good diversity. And really, when you look at looking at both gender, race, and ethnicity, the vast majority of our hires are considered non-majority hires, meaning the non-male whites. So really putting an emphasis on making sure we're very inclusive and have a diverse workforce. So we've been very pleased with that. Any questions?
Looking good, thanks.
Okay. Moving on, I have an update on discipline. Frankly, this is the first time I've needed to do this with this commission. Under Procedure Rule XI, sorry, I don't read Roman numerals very well. Suspensions, demotions, and discharges, Section 1, suspensions. Lacey Civil Service Commission rules and regulations revised in May of this year. It's my duty to report to you that we did have occasion to put an officer on suspension. And this is the following incident. I will not use a name for obvious reasons, but I will describe the incident. In October 29 of last year, we had an unintentional discharge of a firearm by one of our employees in the police department report room while other employees were present. Based upon that information, we initiated an internal affairs investigation, which is noted as IA 21-05. It was investigated by Sergeant Knight, our professional standards unit. Investigation was conducted pursuant to Police Officers Bill of Rights listed in the Lacey Police Officers Guild bargaining agreement, Article 22. The investigation was concluded and results were forwarded to the division commander. The division commander reviewed the results of that investigation in December of 2021. The employee was noticed of the findings on January 17th. At that time, unrelated to this matter, that employee was involved in a unrelated incident. Frankly, there was a officer-involved shooting where he was one of 2 officers that were nearly killed by a suspect during domestic violence investigation. And fortunately, he was able to survive that encounter. However, due to that encounter, he was put on paid administrative leave for a period of time while that investigation was being conducted. Again, that was approved administrative leave not related to this first incident. On April 22nd, conducted a Loudermill hearing for that officer for the October 29th unintentional discharge of the firearm. That was on April 22nd, as I said. Disciplinary action. Based upon totality of the information provided, I made the following determination. All the allegations were sustained and they did occur. Therefore, I issued a suspension for the officer from his position as corporal for 4 patrol workdays for a total of 42.8 hours. Suspension from his position as a department tactics instructor for a period of 1 year. Sorry about that. Also, I required the officer to be engaged in 8 hours of remedial training on firearm safety, as well as complete quarterly firearms training on the safe handling of firearms for Q3 of this year, Q4 of this year, Q1 of next year, and Q2 of next year. The result of this is that remedial training and disciplinary days have been completed as scheduled, and the employee has a very positive attitude and continues to excel as one of our officers. So I'm very pleased with that officer, how he responded to this incident. He took full accountability for it and is doing quite well. Are there any questions?
Thank you very much for the
that, that's the end of my report.
All right. Thank you. All right, the next item on the agenda is civil service rule interpretation. So where are we going with that? Is that yours?
That's me. Yep.
Oh,
So
oh,
we recently finalized our updated civil service rules with the changes that reflect the testing score criteria being moved from 80% to 75%. And I wanted to bring up at this meeting to both the commission and to the police command staff, between now and our next scheduled meeting in November, I would ask that you review our civil service rules for any suggested cleanup items, you know, things to discuss and clarify what the intent and meaning is, functionally how those actions maybe get done, so that we can update our civil service rules a little bit more. I think it's been some time since we've had the commission and command staff both robustly review the rules kind of in total. So this is just a placehold that between now and November to review the rules, bring forward any items, and then at the November meeting, it will be a presentation from the commission, from command staff, and if Vanessa and I, as the civil service examiner or secretary, find things, we will also be bringing those items forward. And then we'll capture all of those suggestions in the meeting minutes. And if there are any changes that we agree to make from that meeting, we would post those potential change updates to our police department for the following meeting, so that they would have chance to review and provide any comment, and then just kind of go forward from there, and just, you know, annually reviewing the rules. Vanessa and I are both new to the process of civil service, and there's been a few times when we've been reviewing rules and we were both like, the wording might mean this or it might mean that. So we'll be bringing those forward to the commission, and we wanted to have both sides, command staff and commissioners, have that same opportunity. So that's what that agenda item is.
of course, within the last year, I've sent you a list of items
Yes.
that I've had interest, not that we're standing that any or all of them have any value, but it's something that I'd like to put into the process, and then we can just consider them and then move on. So, and then
Yep. Yeah, and I have
Commissioner
that
Bay
list
has
from that
indicated-
email.
I beg your pardon?
I said I have your list from that email to Mary Ann that you sent.
And Commissioner Bay has indicated she has some considerations that some items we should consider for clarification and or change if necessary.
Just a couple of corrections, maybe, and some clarifications.
If you want to send those out
I'd be happy to.
and let us know those,
I'd
then
be
we
happy to.
can just put those in the queue. And I can send you a copy of the email that I've sent previously that has about a half a dozen different items that that I'd asked for clarification in times past. And in times past, I have gotten some clarification on those questions. So I think you answered some of those that I sent to you. So, and I know Mary Ann had indicated had answered some of them also way back when. So
I think I have the email.
oh, okay. Good. Well, then you just tasked us, put us to work, huh?
I can do that.
Well, good deal. That's something that I agree with you, always need to be on top of. So, okay, any other issues on that or any other comments on that?
No, thank you.
Okay, let's go to Commission and Civil Service Examiner Task Separation of Duties. Is that yours too?
That is also Leilani.
I think that was one of the items, right, Vanessa, that Jerry had sent along to us, a question of. And, there, I think that was part of what we were going to look at in total. So, I might have added it as a separate line item for this agenda, but I think what may be better is to just put it all together with our rules update that's coming up. So, along those lines, and Commissioner, you just mentioned like sending some of these things ahead of time. That might not be a bad idea. If you find things that you want to bring up at the November meeting, if you want to send those to Vanessa, we can compile a list along with our list and put those together to publish with like today's meeting minutes. And that way you can kind of visually see what we're looking at sort of as a group, commissioners, and then us as the secretary and civil service examiner, and then command staff.
And of course, in September is the Civil Service Conference. And so
Yeah.
if there are any issues that might come out of that that we need to consider to address in our roles, then, and of course, the chief, if the chief has any issues that, and through his communication network that we need to consider, then obviously those things can be input. So, yeah, I would agree that the separation of the tasks, even if we have to we might need to consider specifically stating some of the duties for each of the individuals in a kind of a composition, a collective nature for the roles might be something we consider. I've got a whole slew of other civil service entities throughout the state, cities and counties, and I've looked at some of their rules and regs, and so there might be an opportunity for me to go back and review and see how some of them might have addressed the separation of the duties between the two individuals. So thank you very much. I appreciate that. Any other comments on that issue? At this time, are there any public comments? Do we have anyone from the public attending?
Does not look like it.
I don't believe so. So given that, are there any items for the good of the order of business? Any announcements that we need to know about?
I don't think so. Good.
Hearing that there's no other business, the meeting here is by adjourned. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, Chief.